Remember that bit in Spinal Tap where Nigel gets his amplifier to go all the way to 11? 10's not loud enough, so let's make it go one higher. In a way, this is where cars have got to. Take the BMW M2, which is essentially the 2 Series coupe dialed all the way up to 11. But what if that's too loud for us to deal with every day? What if you want most of those thrills, but only some of the time? Well, this is the 2017 BMW M24DI, a car that, for all intents and purposes, is a softer, more everyday livable version of that hardcore M2. It's a car that you can listen to at a sensible 5 or 6 every day, but then crank that volume up when the opportunity presents itself. Now, it may not go all the way to 11, but I reckon it'll. 40i signifies the mid-life cycle update for the whole 2 Series range, and you've got to be a bit of an expert to spot any changes on the outside. It's basically the badge on the back, and that's it. You do get a lot more standard equipment than its predecessor, the M235, including adaptive LED headlights and standard comfort access keyless entry. The big change, though, is under here. The turbocharged 3-litre inline-6 has been revised and is up 10 kilowatts and 50 newton metres on the old M235, which means you now get 250 kilowatts or 335 horsepower and a whopping 500 newton metres of torque in a rear-wheel drive, short-wheelbase coupe. Now, despite being a small coupe, the M240's actually got a pretty big boot. It's 390 litres here and the seats fold 60/40 should you need more space. The seats themselves are pretty cramped, but if room's your thing, you can get all of this in a 1 Series. Well, in here, things are basically the same. You do get heated powered seats as standard now, and the infotainment is the updated iDrive 5. Well, let's go through that while we're out on the road. Now, before we get too carried away, let's just remember that the 2 Series is your entry point into BMW sports saloon ownership, even though it is still a coupe. And you do miss out on some of the finer things. There's no stitched dash. There is the standard Dakota leather now, which is really nice and looks terrific in the red. But a lot of the stuff is very familiar across the 2 Series range. It's the standard climate control system that's still missing the sync button between passenger and driver. It's the standard audio controls, the standard ZF automatic 8-speed gearbox. So it doesn't make the M240 feel particularly standout special, but in a way it makes it a little bit more honest and a little bit more likeable, because this is essentially the sportiest version of the 2 Series you can get that you can really live with every day. Now, one of the big upgrades to this midlife update of the 2 Series is, of course, the new iDrive system. This is version 5. Now, fundamentally, the system is the same. The functions are all still there, and the way that it works through the jog wheel down here on the console and the buttons and a non-touch screen up on top of the dash is all the same. But what is different is just the way it's laid out. You've had a revised menu system, some nice new graphics, and some really cool predictive screens that show you what's going to happen when you click before you click. Generally, as a little sports coupe goes, the 2 Series is a fundamentally good platform. As a driver and with a passenger, there's plenty of room. We saw it's got a massive boot at the back. It feels nice on the road, it looks pretty cool, and it's got, well, everything going for it. Part of the appeal of the M240 over the M2 is it is a little bit softer and easier to live with. The ZF automatic here that we're used to in a lot of BMW models is a really, really good gearbox. It's fast enough, it's smooth enough, and it's really, really easy for day-to-day driving, which is why the M240 works as a bit of a wolf in sheep's clothing. You can drive it around town, you can deal with the shops, you can deal with everyday traffic, but when you get out into the countryside, well, you can drop her into sport mode and have a little bit of fun. Now, power delivery from the 3-litre inline-6 is deliciously smooth. Now, we're here doing a short uphill blast, and I tell you what, we're not overtaking for very long in this thing. Response is silky smooth. You can move the gearbox across into sport and shift with the paddles if you want to control things a bit, and that speed of shift is, well, it's fast enough, isn't it? As far as technology goes underneath the car to deal with the changing driving and road conditions, you've got an electronically variable steering rack that changes the weight according to the speed you're going. You've got adjustable dampers, and it does make a big difference. The The 2 Series chassis is really, really well balanced. This is going back to what BMW does best, like the old E30s. A nice rear drive platform that's not too heavy, not too light, and feels really good in your hands and really solid on the road, giving very predictive feedback through the steering wheel, much more so than we found even in the M4, and is a very easy car to drive quite quickly without feeling you're pushing the limit too much. So even now, running through some nice country B roads, we're not going too fast, but we don't feel like we need to. The 240 feels, well, fun still at these speeds. There's a lot of communication coming back through the road. It's still a very entertaining and quite a rewarding drive, even when driven smoothly and, well, kind of sedately. Now, you can option up an LSD for this car, but honestly, I don't think too many buyers will do that. It's already nice and nimble through the corners, and to just get even more power down, well, at that point, you probably should be looking at the M2. But this, for normal drivers like me on normal roads like this one, it grips really, really well. There's a little bit of a wiggle if you power down a bit too quickly. The car's fun, and I think that's it, bottom line. And for that all-important exhaust note, how does the 240 sound? Well, it's not raucous. I don't know if you can hear that. It's that really nice, smooth, 6-cylinder BMW noise that, well, I've certainly come to love over the years. Well, the 2017 BMW M24DI, let's face it, it's a pretty accomplished little package. It's fun, it's fast, and it's very livable. The best bit, it's even cheaper than the outgoing M235 and about 20 grand cheaper than its big brother M2. Now, while this car may not go all the way to 11, you're sure going to have a lot of fun trying.